Thanks to the internet, I have met a lot of interesting people along the years. Twitter has been especially instrumental for that, but something that happened to me a lot, especially back in 2019 when I was first getting into politics, is that I could meet two people, become great friends with them, have an amazing relationship with both, but they couldn't stand each other. As in, the best case scenario is that they publicly attacked each other, like bad. And let's say that it was common for them to just be mutually blocked. And I found out odd at the time, having two very good friends, that they, between themselves, it was like dogs and cats, which is precisely what's happening right now between Trump, Netanyahu, and Erdoğan. But a bit more complicated than an online feud with a lot more missiles and a lot more at stake. So let me walk you through the sequence of the last 3 days, because this has been insane. On Monday and Tuesday, somebody put holes in 3 commercial tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, and Washington says that somebody was Iran. On Tuesday night, the United States hit more than 80 targets inside Iran, including Har Island, the island that handles around 90% of everything Iran exports in oil. And Wednesday morning, standing at the NATO summit in Ankara, Trump declared the ceasefire with Iran dead. His exact words were, "As far as I'm concerned, it's over." Now, that alone would be the biggest story of the week, which at the same time made oil jump about 5% in a single day. But something else happened at that summit, almost simultaneously, and it got buried under the bombs. Within hours of killing that ceasefire, Trump handed the president of Turkey, Erdoğan, the 2 things Turkey has been asking for since 2019. He announced that the United States is taking off the CAATSA sanctions, the ones that punish countries for buying Russian weapons. And he opened the door to sell in Turkey the F-35, the most advanced fighter jet the United States makes. So Erdoğan even told reporters he had been promised 5 of those jets, though that number is his claim, not Washington's. But now, Turkey got kicked out of the F-35 program in the first place for buying the S-400 Russian air defense system back in 2019. So Washington is kind of rewriting its own rules, but with a caveat. Turkey won't be allowed to use the S-400s they already have. Now, this story could just end there if it wasn't for what happened the day before that. Netanyahu went on American morning television and begged Trump not to do this. He said Erdoğan calls openly for the annihilation of Israel. He has done so. And that given Turkey, this jet would upset the military balance of the entire Middle East. Well, Trump heard that, flew to Ankara, and did it anyway, within hours, on camera, sitting right next to Erdoğan. So the obvious question is, what did Erdoğan do to earn the orange man's grace? But just to be clear, this is opening the door. Nothing has been promised. Nothing has been signed about the F-35. So I went digging for the actual receipts, the record of what Turkey has contributed to Trump's biggest fight, the war with Iran. Well, it turns out that Turkey's record is almost empty. Turkey declined to join the American campaign against Iran. Turkey gave no strike aircraft, no bombs, nothing offensive at all. And the one operational thing Turkey provides is hosting the NATO radar systems that intercepted some Iranian missiles headed toward the alliance's southern flank. And that hardware was already sitting there. Everything else has been talk, and I mean that literally, because Turkey's foreign minister has spent months carrying messages, hosting Iran's foreign minister in Istanbul, and sitting in de-escalation meetings with the Saudis, the Egyptians, and the Pakistanis. And by the way, when the ceasefire deal actually got signed back in June, the countries that brokered it were Qatar and Pakistan, not Turkey. Turkey wanted that mediator chair and never fully got it. So keep that in mind because it will be important in a minute. At this same summit, Trump spent his time turning into the allies who didn't help him with Iran. He said, and I quote, "I am very upset with the NATO because members didn't want to help us with the number one state sponsor of terror, Iran, of course." He called Spain a terrible partner in NATO. He complained about Italy, Germany, France, the United Kingdom. Now, compare the two cases side by side. Spain, for one, declined to join the Iran campaign, and Spain got publicly humiliated in front of 30 other governments. Turkey declined to join the exact same campaign, gave Washington arguably even less than the Europeans did, and Turkey got sanctions relief and a possible fighter jet deal. So you have a completely different response from Washington to behaviors that are pretty much look alike. So the difference is not what each country contributed, because the contributions are almost identical. The difference is who got to write the story about it. Because Trump has said more than once that he personally asked Erdoğan to stay out of the Iran war and that Erdoğan agreed as a favor to him. He even said Erdoğan was a prime candidate to enter the war on Iran's side. That is important as well. Now, there is zero indication that Turkey ever intended to join that war because Turkey borders Iran, imports energy from Iran, and wants that war ended yesterday for its own survival. But Erdoğan never corrected Trump. He never corrected him. He let Trump believe all that, and that was the smartest move of the day. Because Spain's refusal, told in Trump's story, is defiance by the Pedro Sanchez government. Turkey's identical refusal, told in Trump's story, is loyalty, I guess. So Erdoğan took a thing he was going to do anyway, which was nothing, and let Trump author a version where that nothing was a personal gift or something like that. And then Erdoğan collected on it with cannons, cavalry on horseback, jets painted in the sky red, white, and blue, an airport building named after Trump, that is important, and freshly repaved roads on the route to the palace. Now, in the book I'm writing about behavioral geopolitics, there is one name for the arrangement these two men have entered, and it's called the convenient embrace. It is an alliance where each side is privately certain that it is the one exploiting the other. So Erdoğan is certain he just converted flattery into stealth fighters. And Trump is certain he just bought something from Erdoğan at a bargain price. Which raises the question I have been circling from the start. What exactly does Trump think he's buying? Because Trump does not pay for services already rendered. We just established Turkey's record was kind of empty. Trump pays for what he needs next. And let's take a look at the calendar again. Look at the timing. The ceasefire that died Wednesday was brokered by Qatar and Pakistan. So the mediators of record just presided over a collapsed deal. And within hours of that collapse, Trump showers gifts on the one leader who has spent months auditioning for the mediator job. A man who said at that very summit that Turkey is still working on foundations between Iran and the United States. So meanwhile, the Gulf states are catching the shrapnel with Iranian missiles flying at Bahrain and Kuwait, and the UAE is watching its neighborhoods shipping lanes get reprised by the hour. So here's what I will leave you with. I don't think those F-35s are a reward. I think they will be, in all cases, a retainer, paid in advance, in public, for a job that has not started yet. And I'm confident about that because this exact arrangement has a track record in history, including one famous case where two governments embraced exactly like this, each one certain it was playing the other, and one of them paid for the mistake in millions of lives. And there's also a specific data this month sitting on the US Treasury's website right now that tells you exactly when this embrace gets its first real test and what it will do to oil prices when it does. So that is the definitive payoff, and I wrote about it in full in my blog, The Power Pundit. So if you want my deeper analysis on geopolitics and the behavior of the people who run the world, go check my blog, thepowerpundit.com. I can say things there that I prefer not to say anywhere else. Link in description. And share this video with your family and friends so they know what's really going on. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Power Pundit. Much love and bliss.